On the afternoon of June 30th, 2026, Lifeson stood in an empty Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas, and posted a video that nobody wanted to see. He looked quiet, he looked tired, and he said the words Rush fans had been dreading since the 50-something tour launched with such extraordinary energy 3 weeks earlier. Geddy Lee had laryngitis, he had bronchitis. The doctors had evaluated him and delivered their verdict: additional rest, no stage, not tonight and not in 2 days either. The June 30th show was postponed to July 11th. The July 2nd show moved to July 13th, and the band that had just played sold-out nights in Los Angeles and Mexico City went quiet. What happens in a band during a forced pause like this? What does the recovery period of a reunion tour actually look like? Not the press releases, not the rescheduled dates, but the human reality of 3 musicians who have found something real together, waiting for the moment they can get back to it. According to reports circulating in the Rush fan community, in Begid, though this has not been confirmed by major music publications, Anika Nilles visited Geddy Lee during his recovery. If true, it is not a surprising detail, but it is a revealing one, because it speaks to something about what this band has become in the months since a secret rehearsal room in Canada changed everything. This is the story of what Rush's recovery period actually reveals about who they are. He is performing on the 50-something tour, one of the most physically demanding live shows in rock music, in Resonation Branken's Seal range, singing at the upper limits of a nearly 3-octave range while simultaneously playing bass, triggering synthesizer sequences with foot pedals, and handling keyboard parts between bass lines. 2.5 hours per night, night after night. Laryngitis and bronchitis, arriving together, represent not just a vocal problem but a systemic one. Bronchitis means inflammation in the airways leading to the lungs, the same lungs that support the breath pressure that enables Lee's high-register singing. Laryngitis means the vocal folds themselves are inflamed, swollen, unable to produce the precise, high-tension coordination that his voice requires. You cannot push through this. You cannot find a workaround. The only treatment is rest, complete vocal rest, and time. And for a 72-year-old vocalist who has spent 50 years treating his voice with extraordinary discipline and care, the enforced silence is not just a physical inconvenience, it is a psychological one. Lee has spoken, across his career, about the specific identity that performing gives him. He is not a man who separates easily from his work. When the work stops, when the instrument fails, temporarily, through no fault of discipline or preparation, the person doing the resting is not simply resting, he is waiting. Rush's official statement captured the weight of that perfectly. This is incredibly disappointing for all of us. We know many of you have made travel plans and have been counting down the days to these shows. Please know this decision was not made lightly. After more than 50 years of touring, we've always believed that if we're going to step on stage, we owe you the very best performance we can give. And right now, that simply isn't possible. 50 years. The absolute best. Not tonight. Here is where we need to be honest with you about something. In the days following the Fort Worth postponement, reports began circulating in Rush fan communities that Anika Nilles had visited Geddy Lee during his recovery period. This detail has appeared in fan forums, social media discussions, and some commentary channels covering the tour. However, and this matters, as of this script's writing, no major verified music journalism outlet has confirmed this detail. We have not seen it reported by Billboard, Rolling Stone, Variety, The Guardian, or any other primary source we would normally consider authoritative. We are presenting it here clearly as an unconfirmed report from the fan community, not as established fact. With that framing in place, if this detail is accurate, what does it actually tell us? It tells us that the relationship between Anika Nilles, Geddy Lee, and Lifeson has become something more than a professional touring arrangement. Because visiting a bandmate when they're sick is not something you do when your connection is purely contractual. It is something you do when you have built the kind of bond that makes showing up in difficult moments feel natural rather than obligatory. We know, from the well-documented story of how this band came together, that something real developed between these 3 people during those 5 days in Canada. We know from Geddy Lee's own words that he would look across the rehearsal room at Nilles and find himself smiling. We know from Lifeson's descriptions that he watched her synthesize a week's worth of technical feedback on the final day and felt, in his own word, amazed. That is the foundation. Whether or not the sickbed visit happened exactly as reported, the relationship it would represent, if true, is not implausible. It is consistent with everything that has been verified about who these 3 people are to each other. There is a version of how a tour pause can go that is purely administrative. Dates get rescheduled, statements get issued. the machinery pauses and waits to restart. Nobody is required to do anything beyond the minimum that the situation demands. Rush has not done the minimum. Alex Lifeson's video, posted at the arena, direct to camera, visibly uncomfortable with the situation, was not a required gesture. Rush could have issued the same information through a press release. They chose a human video instead, from the person standing in the arena, because the band has always communicated with their fans as people rather than as an audience to be managed. The band's official statement went beyond the standard medical update. It acknowledged the fans who had made travel plans. It said explicitly that the decision was not made lightly. It invoked 50 years of a standard they refused to compromise. It ended with gratitude, in not thanks for your patience corporate language, but genuine acknowledgement that the fans' support during a difficult moment matters. And Nilles herself, whether or not the sickbed visit detail turns out to be confirmed, has been present in the fan conversation during this period in a way that matters. She has continued to engage with the Rush community through social media. She has not gone quiet during the pause. She has remained, as she has been throughout the tour, someone who understands that her relationship with this fan base is part of the job. The pause, in other words, has not created a vacuum. The band has continued to be present in the space between the shows. It is worth noting, before we talk about what comes next, just how much Fort Worth specifically has had to absorb as a Rush tour city in 2026. The first Fort Worth show, originally scheduled for June 24th, was postponed due to the border delay with the equipment trucks, as we covered in an earlier video. That show was rescheduled to July 2nd. The June 30th show was then postponed due to Lee's laryngitis, rescheduled to July 11th. And then the July 2 show, which had already been rescheduled once, was postponed again, along with the June 30th show, now rescheduled to July 13th. Fort Worth fans have had their Rush shows moved 3 times. The original June 24th concert is now 2 separate shows on July 11th and July 13th, almost 3 weeks after they were supposed to happen. And the Fort Worth fan response, by all accounts, has been remarkably patient. Because this is a fan base that has waited 11 years for this tour. Waiting 3 more weeks for a singer to recover from bronchitis is, in that context, genuinely manageable. The disappointment is real. The patience is also real. Following the rescheduled Fort Worth shows, the tour is scheduled to resume at Chicago's United Center on July 16 for a 4-night run, set of Worth services. One of the most anticipated multi-night stands of the entire 2026 leg. After Chicago, the tour continues across the United States and Canada through the rest of the year, before expanding to South America and Europe in early 2027. The 50-something tour, originally announced as a 22-date run, has grown to 58 shows across 24 cities in North America alone. Over 500,000 tickets sold. The tour's first European shows since 2013. The first South American dates in 17 years. It is one of the most successful rock tour expansions in recent memory, and it will resume in Chicago on July 16th. There is a specific quality that Rush has always had, one that gets discussed less than their technical virtuosity or their catalog depth, which is the quality of treating their audience as partners rather than consumers. From the earliest days of the 1970s when they were playing 245 shows in 13 months and building their reputation one venue at a time, through the grief-soaked 5-year silence after Neil Peart's personal tragedies, through the R40 tour where Peart played through an infected foot rather than disappoint the people in the seats, through the Fort Worth truck delay and the laryngitis recovery, Rush has always communicated from a place of genuine accountability. They don't cancel without explanation. They don't issue terse statements when warm ones are possible. They don't ask fans to accept less than the best without explicitly acknowledging what that cost means. And in this recovery period, the same quality is evident. Whether Anika Nilles visited Geddy Lee at his sickbed or not, whether that specific unconfirmed detail turns out to be accurate, the broader reality it represents is already well documented. These 3 people have built something real. The rehearsal room chemistry, the smiling across the stage, the high five when Nilles outplayed Lee's own expectations, the way Lifeson can't stop turning around mid-show to watch her play. The pause will end, the voice will return, the shows will happen. They always do. Here is what I want to leave you with about this recovery period. It would have been very easy for the framing of this pause to become, Rush is struggling, the tour is in trouble, the 72-year-old frontman's health is a question mark. The comeback that everyone was celebrating might be more fragile than it appeared. That framing is available, some outlets have reached for it. But the actual evidence points somewhere else. It points to a band that communicated honestly and immediately. A band whose statement invoked 50 years of standards rather than hiding behind medical language. A band whose members, verified and unverified, confirmed and reported, gestray, have continued to be present with each other and with their fans during the pause. Rush has always been, at its core, a band defined by showing up, by choosing to be present, by refusing the easier path of silence or distance when the harder path of direct communication was available. A laryngitis and bronchitis diagnosis at 72 is not a crisis. It is an inconvenience that is being handled with exactly the same care and integrity that 50 years of Rush have always modeled. The tour resumes in Chicago on July 16. Geddy Lee's voice will be there, Alex Lifeson's guitar will be there, Anika Nilles will be there, whether she visited the sickbed or not, because she has been fully present for every moment of this story since a rehearsal room in Canada changed her life. Fort Worth, you waited long enough. Chicago, you're next. Drop a comment, are you going to one of the rescheduled Fort Worth shows or the Chicago run? Let us know where you'll be. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.